Jim Albertelli from Voxtur did an interview with Radius Research. I'm going to react to some of the things in the interview. If you want to hear the whole interview, I actually recorded it. The link is in the description below. So let's go ahead and get started.
Part of your question was, is this a great time now to be a shareholder or to invest in Voxtur? Absolutely. Voxtur isn't wed to the way things were done in the past. Voxtur has the ability to innovate. Voxtur isn't constrained by capital. It's not constrained by opportunity. And certainly a changing market and upward pressure on interest rates gives lending institutions the impetus to change, to innovate. If you asked about Voxtur 2 years ago, or you looked at the company and said, "Wow, this is interesting. It's high growth, lots of opportunity out there, many real estate transactions, over 1.4 million residential transactions alone occurring month over month. Is this a great time?" The answer is certainly yes. We use some of that data, and we've created innovation since the last time we've spoken, which open up really billion-dollar opportunities for Voxtur today and to move forward. And some larger competitors, some people in the valuation space, some in the title space, and certainly in the tax space, none of them can address those challenges with new products and services the way we can. So I look at it as a tremendous time when things get constrained, when there are economic pressures on institutions, financial and otherwise. That gives people the impetus to innovate. If you go back a year ago in the refinance boom, lenders were so focused on just how could they process so many loans so quickly. You could bring them a cost reduction opportunity. They had no bandwidth to execute on it. Now, the Voxtur data that we generate through our Benutech acquisition, for example, is lead generation. Leads are scarce. Fewer transactions for individual real estate transactions means that the leads are even more valuable. Our data value just went up. If you look at transactions and the need to bring the cost down, you looked at the GSEs, Fannie and Freddie, adopting new standards that we had promulgated over the past 3 years around an alternative to title insurance, something that can reduce the cost of home ownership. When is it the most necessary? When is it the most relevant? But wouldn't you say in a high inflationary market with little product and housing costs going up and up and up, wouldn't that be the time to adopt innovation? In fact, it is. So, we aren't a rate story insofar as if rates go up, does that mean Voxtur has less opportunities like some of our peers? The answer is no. This is the time now when lenders focus and they either innovate or they lay off tremendous staff, or they die, or they cease to exist. And so those that don't, those that look forward, those that look at how they can innovate using data more intelligently to originate a loan, to service a loan, to in the capital market space, to trade a loan, those companies are going to be successful. And it's going to be companies like Voxtur that assimilate this data, that validate the data, and that deploy it intelligently that are going to survive. So, if you saw what our stock.
Yeah, so this is a very important point because, as everybody's talking about increasing rates and things, and they are lumping Voxtur with other companies. And as you can see, Voxtur actually benefits very much from this environment.
Valuation piece, which you saw us come out when we did the ANOW acquisition, we updated the technology, we brought in our infrastructure. We launched it with the largest wholesale lender in the U.S. It's been a rousing success. It's a direct-to-lender efficiency. We're in the position now to sign additional lenders to that platform, so the development work is done, and we see ourselves expanding that platform in Q3 and Q4 as well. So
if you remember, ANOW was acquired, and then UWM signed up for ANOW, right? And so it's interesting to know that they had to develop and improve the platform, and they're going to be signing up, more clients on that platform in Q3, Q4.
Tax piece will continue to evolve. Expect the taxing authorities now to have a new standard. Again, It's going to be great for title companies. They can use the tax product when they close the loan. It'll be a value add, and it'll be a profit center for them. It'll be a big profit center for Voxtur. The servicers, like I mentioned, they're going to need to make this analysis. It's going to be a new legal standard. People are going to determine that, wait a second, you're overpaying on a number of properties, and that then constrains the consumer. That's a negative consumer impact. It's going to be a standard in the country. And then on the valuation space, we continue to innovate.
So think about this for a second. This little company, Voxtur, like nobody has ever thought of this before. Are your taxes too high or too low? Like everybody just, went along with it. And here they are coming up with this platform. And it's like he's talking about how this will become the new standard. I mean, it's truly magnificent.
We are signing up clients on the AOL. We are in beta on our tax product, looking at all of the different intricacies on a state-by-state basis, expecting to roll that in Q4.
Okay, so that's all I really wanted to hear is that they're signing up clients for AOL.
Efficiencies and address those. So that's why I don't check the stock price every day. I'm the largest single shareholder.
I think that's a lie, by the way. I think he checks it every day.
And I am in this for the long haul, and I'm very focused on being able to create a tectonic shift, if you will, using data to change the mortgage market to become more efficient, to become more egalitarian, to increase home ownership, to reduce costs. And again, the beautiful part about Voxtur is that I can continue to reduce the cost of closing every year. I can continue to do that and increase market share. We can deploy the data as a service or software as a service to do that. And we have tremendous upside. And so you saw a blip when it's...
Don't you love his enthusiasm? I certainly do.
Those investors, it's just not a tomorrow story, but it's a 12 and 24 month and 36 month transformation that will bring outsized returns, we believe, to the market and along our growth trajectory that we've already announced.
So I've been in this name since 2020. So I'm glad that he said this because, everybody's thinking of 3 inches in front of their face. And, you need to have the right shareholders. Like, it's going to take time. Patience is going to win out. And, hopefully they'll continue to execute. Let's move on to the next point.
Big points there, but 2 of the main ones are, it kind of reminded me, like with the rates rising and maybe a slowdown in the home sale market, it's a little bit like what COVID did for the digitization of so many industries from working from home and communications. You have this challenge and all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, now we got to go do this.
That's right.
That is I'm sure you think that's a fair analogy.
Let's look at this. You're absolutely right with COVID. Communicable diseases became to the forefront, but you still needed to get business done. So how do you effectuate that at distance? That promulgated, digitization and the ability to communicate like we are through Zoom or through another technology. So those technologies caught a tailwind during that time. Necessity is the mother of invention on some of it. I think the same thing. Yeah. What's the parallel? Rising rates are now the new COVID. They put distance between a lender and a borrower, right? And how do you bring them together? Well, one of those ways, one of those communications would be a communication of a new cost paradigm. Reduce the cost. Take some of the sting of an upward rate with a reduction in your closing costs. Well, all those reasons I'm bullish on Voxtur. In an increasing rate environment, I've had more meetings. We've had more discussions. We've had more interest than we had throughout, the year before, where, we were on the verge of all these efficiency changes and whatnot, but didn't have the meetings, didn't have the forum, and people didn't have the appetite many times not being compensated to change or to create efficiencies, people didn't have the appetite or the bandwidth for change. And now, in this time, people really do have that impetus to evolve the system. So it's why a lot of investors write me, they're like, Jim, what about more news? When are you going to give us more news? Well, a couple things. I can give you a lot of news in short order, but it may not help the company long term, right? I've got to think beyond, the share price of today. I'm thinking about, in 3 years, what does it look like? What have we accomplished? And, what have we accomplished in 12 months and 24 months, 36 months? And is the news really strategically beneficial? Or does it give away a competitive advantage? Or does it give away too much information? Or does it influence someone to move strategically, counterproductive to our goal, since some of this is a zero-sum game, right? And so I have to be very thoughtful about that. There's lots of things I'd like to talk about. Some things I can't, because when you, for example, you go live with a tier one lender in the AOL space, I can't mention who the bank is. National Bank. I can't give you any other details about them. But those first orders are momentous. I mean, you can only give vagaries around it, right? First of all, they have an NDA. They don't want you to really mention their name. They don't want a target. And they are also trying to gain competitive advantage on their competitors, right? They're one of many lending institutions. So some of that is, we really are trying to be thoughtful about long-term. I'm in it for long-term. The chairman's in it for the long-term. There are a number of large shareholders.
Be in it for the long term. Otherwise, sell your shares and move on.
Flipping to the markets here, you talked about uplisting. Any thoughts or update on that? Is that potentially in the cards for this year?
Well, the short answer is yes.
All right.
It is, and lots of hard work have been done, and I think that more information will be forthcoming, and you'll see some things that just naturally show up over the next week or so, in the next 30 days.
All right. A different person has some AOL questions here. Can you comment on how many customers you have so far, and how many AOLs have been issued? Any comments?
Yeah, so the AOLs that have been issued are in the are in the thousands at this point. So many of them have been tested. They've been done in at the same time as a traditional title insurance policy, just to show you can have the same turnaround time. So lots of testing, lots of letters have been done. It started the fix and flip business in the Northeast. Just notoriously higher costs, as you'd expect, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. So taking advantage of fix and flip people that are really business savvy and see that there's no additional risk, that got in first. And quite frankly, it hit their bottom line in the thousands of dollars a unit. So that was a good test case. And then, several places in a federally chartered bank already has done this in Ohio. So we've already seen that. So the testing phase is going on now. We have focused on bringing in like a client in each kind of, I'll say, a tier one lender, a tier two lender, a transformational mortgage company, which we've signed up, a regional, fix and flip. So we're looking at types, because every other client after these types, so think about it as 6 to 10 clients. Every one of these types then is basically a lodestar for the next one. You got a tier one lender. It's a top 20 bank by mortgage assets or by assets in the country. The next bank goes, oh, that's a federally chartered bank doing it. Let's talk to them and get their experience. So that's our focus right now. But I expect that several lenders in the top 10 space will be engaging and be in production before the end of the year. That would be my expectation.
And they have a second part to this question. In AOL issuances, like they're asking for some forecast or outlook for how many issuances could be done in 22 or 23 or 24.
Yeah.
Is this tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands? Or?
Yeah, I think that, look, in one of the conversations with a GSE, they said, oh, we think that AOL could be, more than 20% of the market. Well, if AOL is more than 20% of the market, that'd be over 200,000 transactions a month.
Remember that. 200,000 transactions a month. Okay? Times 12. That's 2.4 million transactions per year, right? Just remember that.
That would also be larger than almost every title company's current market share. No single title company, but say First American might have more than that. Be bigger than Old Republic Title. I mean, it's just that's a lot of units, right? If it becomes that meaningful. So, what would we like to see? We like to. I think that, by the end of Q4, being near that 10,000 unit mark would be great. And
10,000 per month.
Yes, and then growing to 10x that, and then maybe double it in the following year. I think those, if I was looking at it, that could be some of the growth trajectory of the product. Looking at at potentially, I mean, it could be a big number if it's $100 a unit in technology and profit, and then you did 10,000.
Okay, $100 a unit, which is pretty much profit, right? So 2.4 million transactions per year times $100, $240 million. $240 million. Now, that's almost pure profit. Now, you tell me, what kind of multiple would you put on this? 30? 20? Let's just put 30, just for the heck of it. You know what that's worth? $7 billion. Okay? So, look at the market cap, and that's just one business unit. So do you think it's a good idea for anybody to sell Voxtur's shares for where the market cap is right now, which is, let me see what it is, less than 400 million market cap, when the potential just from one business unit is $7 billion, and we can be like, well, okay, they're never going to get to that level. Well, okay, well, you pick whatever number you want. Put whatever number you want, whatever multiple you want. I doubt that you can come up with a scenario where this company is overvalued. So that's all I'm asking you. Do you think it's a good idea to be selling Voxtur right now?